So thank you all for coming. I have 10 minutes to tell you about 10 weeks, which was a pretty big 10 weeks in my life. So you may want to ask me more, so let's have coffee, or you can read the many, many Facebook posts that I put out while I was away. I'm going to talk a bit about the who and the where, the what, what the needs were at my project site, how I addressed those needs. That really is a bummer. And the road ahead. I had the great pleasure of working with Elephant Energy that's based in Denver, Colorado, and they have operations in Namibia and the Navajo Nations in the Four Corners under the name of Eagle Energy. And Elephant Energy okay, so if I just hit the arrows then? Okay. I know. Heather said, try this out before you do it. Heather was right. Okay, so it's based in Namibia in the Navajo Nation. It was founded by Doug Vilsack in 2008 when he literally showed up in Namibia with a backpack of solar-powered torches on himself after spending time there and seeing what the needs were. The vision of light in every home was truly started then. Namibia. Well, besides not being able to pronounce it, most people don't know where it is. And it's really quite far south in Africa, alongside South Africa. Not as south as South Africa, as Quinn informed me. But to give you a bit of context, Namibia is about twice the size of Texas. So it's very big, with not a very big population. It has about a tenth of the population of Texas. So there's really vast, wide open rural spaces, and only about 15% of the households in those rural spaces have access to electricity. So my orientation was getting to visit all of the 6 regions with a consultant from IDE India, and I'm so afraid this is going to move forward, and my Namibian program manager, Hamutwe. We went and we observed all the operations. We conducted energy use and marketing surveys. And what I learned was that for about 180, people are spending 180 Namibian dollars a month on candles to light their home and batteries for their radios, which are really important in a country that had war only 23 years ago. So the return on investment is really quick. 3 months, less than 3 months, people can pay off that light. And even the Himba tribe said they'd be willing to sell a goat in order to buy a Sun King Pro light. And they really could do that. So this project was a departure from the model of aid, as distributing the lights as aid. It's really about creating livelihoods. And what the project is charged with doing is creating a hub and spoke sales network to sell 10,000 lights in 1 year. The Namibian team consists of a program manager that sits there at the center of the hub, Hamutwe, 4 regional sales managers who were my main workmates through this project, who interact with the regional hub shops, the traveling sales agents, and the rural shopkeepers. And what will happen when this network is fully established is that there will be a distribution chain that spreads across all of northern Namibia. The Denver office is responsible for support and oversight responsibilities. So as you can imagine, communication is very important. So that leads to what the needs were. And after I had a chance to get around and see operations firsthand, it became really clear that communication between the Oshakati office and Denver office was not really happening. Weekly calls were thwarted every week due to some logistical or communication problem. The RSMs were struggling with the reporting. They're supposed to report how many lights are being sold, and they were struggling, and mostly the process was not happening. Most of the RSMs had really limited computer training, and that got in the way as well, as you can imagine. And then the first question that people were asking is, how many lights have you sold? And people couldn't really answer that question. So I took on these fundamental issues, and behind each of the accomplishments is really a backstory And here's my calendar, my check-off calendar. But there's a backstory, one that I can imagine dev people share over beers, and I look forward to sharing those stories with my cohorts. But, you know, I guess I would take something like connecting to the internet. The one-liner would be, suspend all your judgment, your expectations, and throw your calendar into the trash bin. But we were eventually able to get Wi-Fi. That's a long story. And now the project manager can communicate directly with the Denver office, mostly excuse-free. I also equipped the RSMs with the with new notebook computers. So this is a huge improvement for them. It's a huge savings of time, a huge quality of life improvement. And another sort of backstory is old broken laptops in Colorado are also old broken laptops in Namibia. I streamlined the reporting process and transitioned from a highly narrative reporting system to a measurement-based system. It's saving a lot of time for the regional sales managers, and it's really providing better data for management. And then most important to me, I got to develop and deliver computer training to the RSMs. And we worked specifically on their job task and what they would be doing. And there really is no greater thing than teaching someone cut and paste for the first time and seeing their reaction. We don't get that. You know, we don't get to have that experience much here. And that same person last week started messaging me on Google Talk. I didn't teach him that application. He learned that by himself, and he is fully on his way to becoming an IT guy. He loves calling himself an IT person, and I think he is. I also brought Elephant Energy into this Twitter sphere. So another primary goal was to introduce mobile-based solutions to the project. So I designed and implemented a frontline SMS system for multiple operations. But the most useful one and exciting one is that the regional sales managers can now check with the regional hub shops, find out how many lights have been sold. They can send a quick SMS message to the system, and that message gets forwarded to the project manager as well as to the Denver office via a private Twitter feed. So really, for the first time, there's almost real-time reporting between these two places that are very far away and living at opposite ends of the clock, essentially. So Elephant Energy is really, to me, a case study of where development is going. So it's moving from an NGO to having an NGO perspective to more of a business perspective. So that means you have to measure differently, you have to report differently, and you have to fund the project differently. And those are some challenges for the project. Managing cultural differences really is a daily issue. A fun issue most of the time, but a daily issue. And establishing a self-sustaining Namibian-run entity is top priority, but when you have to show progress within a one-year granting cycle, it's almost impossible to keep that priority as your top priority. So capacity building is key. Process, going, constantly enhancing computer training and project management training. So I pondered these complications, which eventually showed up, actually it was sort of ongoing show up for me as in the form of a question. And this question I really couldn't answer myself. So actually on my very last day of work, I asked my boss, Hamutwe, is this sort of involvement by entities like Elephant Energy a net positive at the end of the day? And he didn't hesitate. He said immediately, absolutely, governments move too slowly. So that was what I left the project with. And I'll continue to do some work with Elephant Energy on a volunteer basis as my time permits. I'm going to keep tweeting and supporting the work that I initiated. And if you want to know more about Elephant Energy, you can come on Thursday to a fundraiser in Denver, and I can tell you more about that. Thank you very much.